You have probably digitized much of your organization's infrastructure, but are those systems keeping up with the speed and scale of today's work? Maybe your IT team is still stuck resolving repetitive tickets manually, or your business units are juggling disconnected tools and spreadsheets that stall decision making and productivity. Now, while digital transformation got you partway there, AI transformation is what closes the gap. It's about rethinking how work happens, not just speeding up the old way of doing things. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Analytics Insight podcast, where we talk about the ever evolving tech space. And I'm your host, Priya Dialani. Now, AI agents are not just improving workflows, they are redefining how businesses operate. Recent breakthroughs in deep learning, generative AI, and autonomous systems augmentation by a proliferation of enterprise data from digital devices and collaboration tools have dramatically increased their ability to handle complex decision making in real time. Let's welcome Mr. Khaarvel Parakh, Chief Growth Officer at GenXAI, to understand what AI transformation really means, how it differs from digital transformation, where it's driving the most impact across the enterprise, and how to build a successful strategy for your own organization. Hi, Kharvel, how are you doing?
Hi, Priya. Thank you for inviting us to the podcast. I'm doing good. How are you?
I am doing good too. Thank you so much. And it is a pleasure to have you on our podcast today, Kharvel. And definitely, we are going to talk pretty much more and everything about AI and how we can probably grow and not just survive in this AI era. But let's start and build the foundation of our conversation today by letting our listeners understand more about Gen X AI. So, if you could help us understand about the company, its organization, the specialization, it would be great.
Sure. It would be my pleasure to, explain what we do. So GenXAI has been in IT services, IT solution space for about 14 plus years now. We've recently rebranded ourselves as GenXAI, keeping AI first in all our services and solutions that we deliver. For over 14 plus years, we've specialized and we are the preferred solution providers for enterprise performance management. We've worked with some of the best-in-class solutions, delivered solutions across some of the most complex problems across all blue chip companies in India, APAC, and global markets. We've expanded our service offerings lately across multiple domains. So while enterprise performance management remains the core of what we started off with, we've added multiple service lines. So we've got our own Gen AI solution suites. We've got our solutions on bespoke software development where we solve some of the most complex problems. We've got some recent acquisitions where we've got IoT devices which transform the way the government and the dairy organizations really work. We've started partnering a lot with government initiatives on climate change sustainability initiatives as well, where while we are doing a lot of activities and a lot of delivery across the projects, kept the best-in-class technology and generative AI solutions at the core of delivering each of these objectives across all the projects that we deliver out there.
Great, thank you so much. That's really insightful and helping our listeners understand by giving that overview of the company. And
Mhm.
we are really glad to see how your organization is at the forefront of enterprise performance management and driving innovation by solving some complex problems in such a dynamic space. Having said that, we would also like to dive a little deeper into your role, Carvel, and how you have been part of this journey. So we would like to know more about you. How has your journey been till date? What exactly is your role and contribution at Gen X AI?
Right. So, yeah, I started my journey in consulting space about 15 years ago. I've worked with Big Fours. I've been part of their consulting practices. I had my own tech consulting startup, which then transformed and I led my destination to GenX AI about 5 years back. When I joined GenX AI, it was a fledgling hyper growth startup. We were doing some very good, interesting projects on enterprise performance management. We were, serving some of the BFSI clients, some of the e-commerce portals, insurance companies companies, manufacturing companies on solving for their finance planning related, supply chain related problem statements. When I joined, I found it very exciting because the core of what GenXAI was really doing had its applicability across industries and across wide variety of use cases. It was impacting right from strategic initiative being driven at the top CXO levels to delivering operational excellence right up to executing those strategic goals and aspirations of an organization. That journey kind of excited me. I joined about 5 years back. Since then, we've grown about 5 to 6 times. Out there, my agenda at the core of what I really do at GenXAI is to build the entire solution practice, services practice for tomorrow. We expand our service offerings to try and see what other problem areas can we really include as part of our overall solution delivery. While we are already doing enterprise performance management, solution deliveries at each of these large accounts that we've got. Alongside, I work on the solutioning part of it. I work with CXOs in terms of understanding, crystallizing what kind of problem statements are they really facing from an overall decision-making, performance improvement standpoint. How can technology really help solve for those problems? And how do we, marry the processes, their complexities, technology, all put together in a combined way, which not just delivers the value that they are looking for, but also prepares them for problems of tomorrow in terms of being very agile in solving tomorrow's problem and also anticipating some of those, future needs today to really solve for them. So some of the examples could be, implementing the best in class planning solutions and planning processes, which we've seen across some of the very large mature organizations globally. For some of the trends that we see, really coming up, how do we, bring that as part of our solution delivery? This is what keeps me busy at the organization, and I'm really excited to, work alongside with our clients and in delivering those solutions to them.
Great. I think we're really delighted to hear about your journey and how your role ties so closely to the company's larger vision and impact. I'm also glad to see how your particular leadership is translating strategy into some valuable real world outcomes. Now let's build on that. We have been talking about artificial intelligence, and it has evolved significantly over the past decade. It started with a basic rule based system and automation tools like robotic process automation. Now, today, enterprises are using advanced AI models, including large language models, machine learning algorithms, neural networks. We have agentic AI models, and they are solving more complex problems and enabling larger scale transformative change. Early AI use cases focus on narrow tasks like chatbots or basic data analysis. Now, modern AI systems can support a wider range of enterprise applications from IT support to HR automation. So there is more flexibility and intelligence. In terms of enterprise planning, traditionally it has been a very static and a time consuming process. So how do you think AI is transforming planning into something more dynamic and responsive in today's era?
Yeah, that's a great question. When we talk of enterprise performance management at a broad level, right, we are really looking at four different, domains which we are targeting from a solution delivery standpoint. One is your finance transformations, which includes your finance planning analysis. It also is about, how do we do long range plannings? It's also about, what kind of financial insights can I really extract from an existing data sets and sense some of the opportunities and, risks and opportunities as they continue analyzes those finance plans and prepare their annual operating plans and revenue plans. Second is, of course, your supply chain planning. As part of your supply chain transformations, again, you're sensing demand, you're doing inventory optimizations, you're doing rough cut capacity planning, supplier collaborations, distribution planning, and then there's a lot many more corollary, activities that go in overall solution delivery, and so on with sales planning, doing a territory quota planning to your incentive plan to marketing plan optimizations and workforce optimizations as part of the workforce planning use cases. Now, the era of EPM really started at the cusp when people were just extracting reports from their source systems, which could be ERPs, Salesforce systems, the delivery systems, transportation systems, and then sit and analyze those data points to really come around in terms of saying, okay, this is what we did last quarter. What can we do differently for the subsequent months? The challenge with that entire process was the teams were operationally so consumed in analyzing the past data that they would many a times in fact, in most cases, miss out on the opportunities and risks that were really coming before them. It could be a seasonality change, it could be change in a business environment that they are operating. All of this was lesser part of the focus, and the core of us really analyzing what had already happened. With AI coming into the picture, a lot of this is being challenged from a status quo standpoint. So while modern EPM solutions do cater to a great extent in terms of doing forecasting, doing variance analysis, giving you reports, but with AI coming in, this has really challenged the status quo as to what we were doing up till now. To give you some examples, right? A lot of organizations would do their planning based on internal factors. They would, look at their past data, past trends, and then, come up with their future plans. They would do some level of sensing in terms of, what would be the forecasting for the subsequent quarters, subsequent months, and the year as well. Many a times, and in fact, in the globally evolving world with the geopolitical risks that we have, with the tariffs that are going around, with the kind of supplier disruptions that we are seeing, and also the fluctuations in the foreign exchange rates, right? We are operating in a very evolving and an uncertain business environment. Now, there are two parts to it. One is, can I really sense some of these opportunities early on? And if I do, how and what would be my reaction around it? So sensing and bringing in the agility to really transform your business to being a static, one unidirectional process flow organization to something which can adapt to the evolving business environments is where EPM have started adding a lot of value to. So A, it helps you, analyzing your data sets. B, it helps you do the forecasting better. 3, it brings in information from external data sources. 4, what it does is you can build your own GenAI agents which could mimic what a human being would have done in terms of executing a lot of process, get enriched outcomes or prescriptive outcomes which can then be translated to action items for people to really execute on ground. So a lot of these activities have fast tracked for businesses. They've started seeing a lot of value in terms of their investments that have already gone in, and this would pave the way in the way the entire organization's planning processes really work, and how they really want to consume these data points to really bring in prescriptive actions and be very agile in terms of the way they are operating.
Absolutely. I think that's a great perspective, and it's really fascinating to see how AI is making enterprise planning management more fluid and intelligent,
Mhm.
almost like giving enterprises a living and a breathing system that can continuously learn and adapt. And of course, what once took months of manual forecasting and coordination is now happening in real time. So it is, of course, empowering teams to make faster and data-backed decisions. Building on that, let's explore how this shift is impacting enterprises on a large scale. In today's increasingly fast-paced economy, leading global organizations all have the same goal: to be agile and responsive, to swiftly react to market volatility and shifting customer demands. However, the
Mhm.
majority of companies still face the challenge of having data and plans that live in isolated spreadsheets, making effective cross enterprise collaboration nearly impossible. But with cloud based connected planning, businesses can transform the way they plan by unifying data, people, and of course, plans on a single platform. So, this connected planning is kind of becoming more like a buzzword in boardrooms. How do you define it, and why is it critical for modern enterprises?
Yeah, so as you rightly pointed out, data has been in silos for most organizations. So as we had the digital transformation initiatives, run across multi years for so much time now, everyone has built best in class solutions for their own functions. So a finance team would have a great, finance MIS planning, reporting dashboards. They would have great set of data. They would have, figured out their risk and opportunities, identifications, and they would have probably even gone to the next step in terms of identifying the action items which they need to execute as part of mitigation plans or growth plans. This applies across all functions within an organization. Now, what tends to happen is while you're doing a lot of these activities, they are being done in silos, and many a times you might miss the organizational goals that you have. So, say for example, I were a manufacturing company, a CEO, and I would want my growth aspiration be defined at a certain percentage. Let's take for hypothetical use case here, 30% growth rate, right? And I have, based on my past performance, I've disaggregated my numbers to say, okay, January I'll grow this much, Feb this much, this is what my March number should look like, and this is how my entire year would really look like, and this is my plan for the next year. Now, when you're actually into your financial year or your calendar year, and you've got your sales numbers coming in, you've started seeing variance over it. If there's a variance, what are those proactive steps that I need to take to make sure that that variance is either amplified, minimized? In case it's a positive variance, how do I amplify it? In case, because those are opportunities that I would want to catch up on. If there are negative variances, what do I really do to make sure that I come up with a plan over next 11 months so that I don't deviate from my organization goals? Within boardrooms, what we've seen is organizational goals remain top priority for the CEO, for the board leadership. They do not really want to deviate, come what may, right? They want to make sure that the organization is going to the next level of growth, is meeting their targets, and is optimizing on all those initiatives where they have really seen risks in their past years. Now, this is exactly where connected planning helps you. So you're not really talking in silos across different verticals, and you're not really wasting time in terms of sharing data in certain formats, in certain kind and type to really take those decisions. Connected planning solutions basically are the decision making, I would say, authority or a mechanism within an organization, where while all the data flows in from different cuts, each stakeholder is looking at the right set of data, single source of truth across the organization. You're getting real-time feed in terms of what's really happening. So if your production site is going to go down, you know for a fact that your inventory levels will be hit. You know for a fact that your sales will take a hit. And how do I proactively really engage into this conversation to make sure that either I'm sourcing my raw materials ahead of time or shifting my production capacity to some other unit? How do I take those calls real time to make sure that impact on business is as minimum as possible for any disruption that's happening, is where we can really help businesses. A lot of the examples that we spoke of, right? There's a forex fluctuation. The dollar prices have been going significantly on an upward trend. A lot of companies do import a lot of raw material from global markets. What they would have planned at the start of the year for a particular INR to dollar rate might not hold true for the entire year, right? There's a fluctuation over there. So if your raw material prices are changing, your gross margin is getting impacted, and so is your profitability. Now, how can I really give that information ahead of time? If I know the tariffs are changing, can I really, sense what is going to be my supplier disruption out there? Can I really, procure ahead of time? If I believe there's a opportunity in terms of really identifying certain geographies where there's a miss in sales from existing suppliers, can I really make that as my market and align my supply chain to deliver goods and services in that particular region? A lot of these information and data sets should flow seamlessly at least at the top management, for them to identify those risks and opportunities, for them to really enable and empower in terms of taking the right decisions which are in the best interest of their organizational goals. And to really get there, connected planning is the core of all the activities that are being done from an organization's enterprise performance management posture standpoint.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a very wonderful perspective that you shared. And what stands out is how connected planning isn't just about linking data or tools, but
Mhm.
it's about truly aligning people, processes, and decisions across the organization. And I'm glad to see how this approach is, breaking down silos and enabling enterprises to move from reactive to a proactive planning. Moving ahead, we spoke about EPM solutions. And if we talk about enterprises, I think they face a relentless wave of challenges in this, fast-paced world of modern business. You have fluctuating market conditions, shifting customer expectations, or even, the emergence of disruptive technologies. So the need
Mhm.
for agility and adaptability has never been more critical. That's when the connected EPM systems, provide businesses with the ability to integrate data, dashboards, and, even complex time dimensions. So how can AI-driven EPM solutions adapt to the unique needs of different industries or business models?
Let's break down AI problem statement in probably couple use cases, right? Let me take an example. What is it that you're really looking for AI to solve as far as your, planning models are concerned? Are you really interested in anomaly detections? While I might have my data, I might have, all of that information that I'm collating, both internal and external. But is there something that it contains biases? Is it something that is not right and which needs correction before I even take it to the next level for planning consumptions? The answer to that is yes. AI can really help you. It can identify past trends. It can help you really figure out anomalies. It can flag outliers. It can even suggest some prescriptive actions to you to say, look, this seems off. This has never been the trend. It could possibly be because of these reasons. We've seen some of those, of initiatives being taken across multiple organizations where they want to make sure that the quality of data on which they are doing their planning is really top notch and it's crystal clear. They don't want to be really spending time on doing wrong data set planning or really spend time in going back and forth and correcting data planning and only to realize that this was not the right data. Second piece, of course, is can I really move to an workflow agentic configuration where I'm trying to execute certain process. There are certain activities which can be automated, which we've already done. But in terms of decision makings, these are the prescriptive insights. Based on these prescriptive insights, these are the kind of scenarios. So it's a combination of your workflow along with your scenario planning use cases where you can say, okay, if I do take a step A, this is the kind of projected outcome. If I take step B, this is the kind of projected outcome. Step C, and which one of this is better suited based on my business environment? Can an AI model really, help me there? The answer to that again is yes. We've seen a great amount of work that's being done within organizations so that you do not really want to waste the precious time of your senior executives to analyze and create those different scenario models. Those have to be created out from the system if they are really accurate. And we've seen a fair level of, or I would say, exceptionally high level of accuracy out there. Now, once those outputs are there, can I really optimize those outputs? Can I run kind of statistical models, machine learning and AI models to get a really an epitome of what an end product or an end plan should really look like, taking into account all the pros, cons, all the risks and opportunities that we've identified, all the constraints, all the variables that are there in place. So yes, again, an AI agent can really help you there. So an AI agent has multiple touch points as far as your EPM models are concerned. It could start with your natural language query in terms of querying your EPM models to really get insights, to working almost like a human, to be an analyst within your organization to say, if I were to ask for these reports, this analysis, can I really get that in a particular format and easy consumption? To taking it to the next level in terms of saying that what are the prescriptive insights, what kind of scenario planning can I really do, and can I really optimize all of these scenarios to get a best cut output program in terms of my action items and next steps for an organization. So an AI agent's journey in EPM is across the board. Increasingly now what we are seeing is with the advent of IoT devices being implemented across wide variety of applications. There's a continuous flow of data that's going to come in, which you would want to really analyze for multiple reasons. Either it could be for consumer behavior, it could be for if it's a factory kind of an environment, the health of your factory and the plant machinery. It could be in terms of various other use cases, which are very focused either at your customer touch points or your internal factors touch points to get an early warning indicators or change in pattern indicators, which you want to analyze and bring in as part of your models. So AI plays a great role there. It's on top of all of these data sets to really analyze, bring up those anomalies, bring up those predictions, and those kind of early warning indicators for it to be consumed within your planning models. Outside of this, we do see a great level of work that's happening in terms of saying, if I had to ever create an enterprise performance model for my organization, can I really just type it out in terms of my requirements, and can that model be built and integrated with my existing data sources? I think the world is moving in that direction, and very soon we'll see a lot of progress across a lot of EPM solutions to not having to really spend hours coding and building those models for your organization, but to write out your specification requirements and get your models out for immediate usage.
Definitely, absolutely. And I think thank you for sharing that, firstly, Carville. And it's really interesting to see how AI-driven EPM solutions are no longer just about automating reports or forecasting, but they are truly understanding the nuances of each industry, whether it's a supply chain dynamics or financial services
Mm.
compliance needs or even retail demand fluctuations. So I think after listening to it, it's really important that we understand that adaptability and contextual intelligence are becoming key differentiators. Tailoring insights to specific business models rather than having a one size fits all analytics.
Mhm.
So building on that, I think when we're talking about EPM solution, I think it's important that we need a solution that is responsive to the needs of business users. But at the same time, I think an EPM should also keep an eye on emerging technologies like integrated analytics and business intelligence, or ML, like LLMs, or that accelerate data understanding and augment decision making. Organizations in need of reliable, accurate, and adaptive planning and performance management systems should proactively assess different connected EPM solutions to power their enterprise growth strategies. So, if you had to give a piece of advice to CXOs evaluating EPM solutions today, what would it be?
Wow. So I'll try to answer this question in as generic and as specific as possible, because each organizational goal for an EPM solution might be different. I think the first process really starts in terms of, understanding what is your process maturity. And, to really get there, how are you really taking your decisions today? How democratized is decision making in your organization? Is it centralized with certain few individuals, or is it democratized? If you're taking decisions in a particular way, do you have any guardrails in place to really ensure that that decision making is happening within those guardrails? A lot of time really should be spent in understanding the process maturity, and where you really aspire to be, maybe a 3 year or a 5 year time frame. That's the first point that I think is important. Second point is, as a business user or as a leader of an organization, what are those pain areas which are giving you sleepless nights? Is it that I'm not able to really be agile in terms of my finance planning piece, or is it my supply chain disruptions that are giving me sleepless nights, or is it my sales variances that are giving me sleepless nights? What is it that I'm really trying to solve for, right? While overall it does boil down to your financial numbers, but where do I see the burning issue to be? And what is it that I would want to take up as the first problem to really solve for, while I continue to really embark on this planning journey? Once you've got some clarity on these aspects, right, the next logical piece for you to do is probably interact with some of the consulting firms in terms of understanding, for an organization of your size, your industry, what are the available solutions, and what's the typical ROI across these solutions, and what are the adoption rates, what is it that it takes to get there, right? And what are the benefits which probably you're not anticipating today, but you keep your eyes and ears open to really see these are the direct benefits. Indirectly, I'm going to be benefited in a particular way, right? While you're doing all of these activities, the next piece, which is equally important for you, is to understand, while I'm talking of one particular use case or a connected planning use case, how do I make sure that I democratize or centralize to whatever that piece of decision making process is that I follow? How do I make sure that the tool or the technology that I'm selecting is encompassing all of these important stakeholders within an organization and really solves for their problem too? It is also important to evaluate a product solution from a product roadmap perspective. What kind of early success or success stories that they've got, not just regional but also at a global level, in terms of understanding and really solving for those problem statements. Once you've shortlisted certain set of vendors that you really want to work with, I would encourage those CXOs to have conversations with those solution OEMs clients, understand from them firsthand as to whether you're able to relate to those problem statements with them. Is that wavelength aligned? And is that really helping them build that confidence that yes, this EPM solution is going to deliver the right value for me? While you're doing all of these activities, do engage in conversations with your EPM solution providers and your consultants to do some hands-on workshops, bring in as many stakeholders from a decision-making standpoint to see their perspectives, take into account how each of their problems and lives are going to be made simple, and at the same time it's going to add tremendous amount of value from a decision making perspective within an organization, and also bring in operational efficiencies while you're trying to solve for some of the problems that you've already identified and are aligned to solve for.
Definitely. And I think when we're talking about the right EPM solution, it isn't just about numbers or dashboards, but the ultimate objective should be enabling smarter, faster decisions across the entire enterprise. And it is also about aligning strategy with execution and making sure every team has visibility into performance in real time. Well, thank you for that advice, Kharwil. I'm sure our audience of CXOs will find it incredibly valuable as they evaluate their solutions that best fit their business goals and, of course, their digital transformation journeys. So, I think AI driven enterprise planning has already made the entire strategy more agile and its role will continue to evolve. The next phase will focus on AI systems that are even more embedded into operations and strategy, crossing functional lines and holistically providing the insights business owners need to make smart decisions. Thank you so much, Carvel, for taking out the time and effort to be on our podcast today and helping us understand that businesses that take a practical approach to AI adoption will be the ones that plan smarter, adapt faster, and stay resilient in changing markets far into the future. Thank you so much. It was lovely chatting with you.
Thanks a lot, Priya. Pleasure to be on this podcast. I
Great.
really look forward for some more insights on other podcasts and news items on your website.
Definitely. Definitely, Kar. We're looking forward to it too. Thank you so much. So, this is for our listeners. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the podcast and gain more insights around connected planning and enterprise planning management. Stay tuned for our upcoming podcast. Meanwhile, you can view all our previous podcasts on Spotify and other leading platforms. Thank you so much.